following the radical left agenda. Take away your guns, destroy your Second Amendment, no religion, no anything, hurt the Bible, hurt God. He's against God, he's against guns, he's against energy, our kind of energy. I don't think he's going to do too well in Ohio.
President Trump claiming Joe Biden is against God, despite the presumptive Democratic nominee being a practicing Catholic. Now the Biden team is firing back. Let's bring in Guy Benson, political editor for townhall.com, Fox News contributor, and host of the Guy Benson Show. So, Guy, good morning.
Hey, Mike.
Does this line of attack suggest how important faith or values voters are to President Trump?
It might, in his mind, and it might be, in reality, a key piece of his coalition. That's definitely true. But we can have a conversation about whether or not it's appropriate to go that far and to say what he said, saying that his opponent, Joe Biden, is against God. I think that politicians who go that direction should do better. I think it's out of bounds. We've seen it from Nancy Pelosi questioning the faith or the adherence to their faith of Republicans in the recent past. We saw Mayor Pete, when he was running for president, do the same thing against the vice president, Mike Pence. It's not a good look for them. It's not a good look for Trump.
Joe Biden is responding, no surprise. Let's put it on the screen, saying, quote, "For President Trump to attack my faith is shameful. It's beneath the office he holds, and it's beneath the dignity the American people so rightly expect and deserve from their leaders. As I've said so many times before, we're in the battle for the soul of our nation, and President Trump's decision today to profane God and to smear my faith is a political attack, is a stark reminder of what the stakes of this fight truly are." Guy, to his point, is there a chance of this backfiring on the president?
Yeah, I think there probably is with some people. I'm not sure we're going to be talking about it a week from now because the news cycle moves at warp speed all the time. But generally, I think when you see political figures make arguments like, my opponents are on the wrong side of God, my opponents hate America, my opponents hate the children, which is one that we're seeing now on the debate over reopening schools, that people who are in favor of reopening schools just want children dead, right? When you've gone to the point where you're suggesting that you're on the side of the Almighty and the other side isn't, or the other side is in favor of mass suffering or mass death, maybe it's time to take a step back and reevaluate whether or not you can make some better arguments. I will say, it's up to the Catholic Church to decide whether if Joe Biden deserves additional sanctions. I know he's been denied communion here or there on his slide into abortion extremism. That's a fair issue to bring up. How far he's moved on that issue to the point that he supports it basically unfettered, paid for by tax dollars. I mean, if that's a point that the Trump administration, or rather the Trump campaign, wants to raise on the trail, I think that's absolutely fair game. That's different than saying that Joe Biden is against God or wants to hurt the Bible.
President Trump signing an executive order on TikTok, basically giving 45 days for Microsoft or another company to arrange a deal to purchase the craze that young people are all excited about, including my kids. Does this executive order expedite a deal, Guy?
Yeah, first of all, nothing makes me feel older than TikTok. This is something that feels like just a foreign world to me, and I'm just in my mid-30s. This is the right move by President Trump. I'm glad that he's taken this step. This is not a crazy or wild step by any stretch. The Chinese Communist Party is a real present and future threat to the United States. We've seen TikTok banned in a place like India, more than 1 billion people there. This is a long-term data collection and espionage play by the Chinese Communist Party. And for the West to wake up to that and react accordingly, I think is completely the right thing to do. And I think that there needs to be a good conversation with the young people and the teenagers in particular who love TikTok. It's a community for them. They've made friends there. They feel important in a lot of cases there. And to try to make a case for why this is the right decision, that might be a tough sell for some, which is why I think maybe the best outcome here is for an American company to buy it and scrub any of these data collection opportunities for China and allow that app to just be fun, which generally it is. On the surface, that's exactly what it is. The problem lies deeper.
Yeah, our kids love it. So should we expect, though, the Chinese to then try to find another way to snoop on Americans?
Oh, yeah. I mean, right. So you've seen some people say, well, the Chinese are going to spy on us no matter what, so why ban TikTok? I think that's a really silly argument, right? The Chinese are going to try to spy on the U.S. military. Should we just open the floodgates to the Pentagon, say, yeah, whatever, come on in, take a look. You want to do whatever you can to counter China and make it as hard as possible for them to steal our intellectual property. They've been doing it for decades. President Trump's been very strong on this point. And for them to steal information about Americans that could conceivably, and it's not that hard to imagine, be used in the future for purposes of blackmail and extortion, make their lives harder, make the PLA's lives when it comes to espionage as hard as possible, and also draw a line in the sand. Show them that we're paying attention. Show them that we're not just going to take it rather lying down and prostrate ourselves and just sort of throw up our hands. Show leadership, join arms with other people around the world, and fight. And this is a step in that fight.
Mm-hmm. To the Biden campaign, obviously he needs the African-American vote to turn out big for him in November. He stepped in it a bit yesterday. He tried to clean it up on Twitter last night. Let's put that on the screen, saying, quote, earlier today I made some comments about diversity in the African-American and Latino communities that I want to clarify. In no way did I mean to suggest the African-American community is a monolith, not by identity, not on issues, not at all. Does this have any legs, Guy?
I don't know, but I mean, he said what he said, right? So some staffer crafting a string of tweets to clean it up, that's fine. They should clean it up. It's a mess that needs to be cleaned up. But he said what he said out loud. And it sort of aligns with what he said a number of months ago, you remember, talking to Charlemagne the God on the Breakfast Club, where he said if black people are having trouble deciding whether to vote for Donald Trump or Joe Biden, then, quote, you ain't black. And then he said, well, I didn't really mean that. Then he sort of said something very similar again yesterday. This is precisely why, I suspect, Team Biden generally wants this man in the basement, limiting interactions, because when he comes out and pokes his head up and has things to say, there's sort of like a daily cleanup on aisle Joe.
Meanwhile, that also illustrates why the Trump campaign's eager to get him out in off-the-cuff moments and start those debates earlier, right?
Yep. They're like, hey, right now, I think the Trump campaign recognizes that they are behind, at least for the moment. There's some indication that they're gaining some ground. And it seems like part of their strategy now is to try to smoke Joe Biden out to get him talking more. And if there's another debate that they've floated, I think their idea is the more Joe Biden speaks, the more advantageous it will be for them. And we'll see if that strategy pays dividends and works.
Is there a way to draw him out, basically, to make him more off the cuff? Is there a technique that the Trump campaign can do to basically force him to be more off the cuff?
I mean, they're trying, certainly, and I think there's resistance from the Biden campaign for the reasons that we just saw, right? He's not, I don't think, going to be able to duck the 3 debates that have been agreed to, and he sort of puffed out his chest and said, I can't wait to debate President Trump and show how great my mental and physical fitness is, although he had trouble actually saying that sentence, right? So I think that the Biden campaign, they know their vulnerabilities. A lot of them lie in the candidate himself. And so they have every incentive, including the current polling position, to keep him under wraps as much as possible and just sort of have him out there as the generic opponent of President Trump. That may prove to be a smart strategy. But as I said, actually, to Sandra the other night, filling in for Martha, if the thing gets close, if the race really tightens and the polling is, nail-biting territory and they want to rev up and they need Biden out there more, will his skills have atrophied? Will he be rusty? Can he necessarily turn on sort of, the afterburners when he needs to if he's out of practice? I think that is one of the inherent risks in the strategy that they're currently pursuing.
Guy Benson, enjoyed picking your brain. Have a great day.
You bet. Thanks, Mike.